Imagine this. A brown envelope drops through your letterbox. It's got that official HMRC logo on it, and, well, your stomach just does a little flip, doesn't it, before you've even opened it? You open it up, and inside, you see three words that can make your blood run cold. Code of Practice 9. Now, this isn't your average tax query. Oh no, this is something else entirely. So, what on earth does it actually mean? And more importantly, what are you supposed to do about it? Look, getting that letter is daunting, there's no doubt about it. But understanding what's inside is absolutely the first step to taking back control. This guide, which has been developed by the experts over at My Tax Accountant, is going to walk you through exactly what a COP9 investigation is and what you need to do. So let's map this out. We're going to start with what COP9 actually is, then we'll look at a really crucial offer that HMRC makes. After that, we'll walk through the whole investigation process, get our heads around the penalties, and finally cover the single most important step you need to take. Okay, let's dive right in. First things first, we need to be crystal clear on what a COP9 investigation really is, because trust me, this is not a routine tax check. You see, HMRC only rolls out COP9 when they suspect serious tax fraud, and the key word here is deliberate. This isn't about making a careless mistake or an accidental error on your tax return. This is about a suspicion of intentional, dishonest behavior to avoid paying tax. And you need to know who you're dealing with. This letter isn't from some local tax office. A COP9 investigation is handled by HMRC's Fraud Investigation Service, the FIS. These are the specialists, a highly trained unit that deals with the most serious, most complex cases of suspected tax fraud in the UK. Now, it's also really important not to get this confused with a COP8 investigation. A COP8 usually looks into things like complex tax avoidance schemes, arrangements that might be a bit murky but aren't necessarily illegal fraud. A COP9 is totally different. It is a direct allegation of fraud. The stakes are just so much higher. And if you're wondering just how seriously HMRC takes this, well, get a load of this. In the year ending March 2023, COP9 investigations alone brought in a staggering £89 million in recovered tax. So yeah, they are very, very focused on this. But, and this is a really big but, buried inside that very serious letter is a critical opportunity. A lifeline, really. Let's look at the way out that HMRC offers. This lifeline is called the Contractual Disclosure Facility, or CDF. The best way to think of it is like a contract. HMRC is basically saying, okay, we suspect you of fraud, but if you come completely clean and tell us everything, we promise we won't prosecute you for it. It is a one-time offer. You don't get a second chance. So what's the deal exactly? Well, it's a two-way street. Your side of the bargain is to provide a full and totally honest disclosure of all your tax issues, not just the ones you think they know about. You have to admit you acted deliberately and cooperate fully. In return, HMRC commits, contractually, to not pursuing a criminal case. The whole thing stays civil. And here's the bit that catches so many people out. That's not all. Here's where most people go wrong. The clock is ticking. You have exactly 60 days to respond to this offer. 60. That's it. And it is non-negotiable. Ignoring it is the same as saying no. And that can, and very often does, trigger a full-blown criminal investigation. Okay, so let's say you've wisely decided to accept the offer. What happens next? Well, you're about to embark on a pretty structured journey. It's not a quick chat, it's a formal process. Now, let's look at the next step. The whole thing follows a very clear path. Let's take Alex, a freelance web designer in London who maybe hasn't declared all of their income. Alex's journey would start with that letter, then move to making an outline disclosure within that 60-day window, followed by meetings, a massive detailed report, and then, finally, a settlement. Stay with me, the next point might surprise you. Yeah, if you were hoping this would all be over and done with in a few weeks, think again. A typical COP9 investigation is a marathon, not a sprint. We're often talking 18 months or even longer from start to finish. It's incredibly thorough. That's not all. Here's where we talk about the financial reality. Once the investigation is done and everyone agrees on the amount of tax owed, we have to talk about penalties. So the big question on everyone's mind is, right, what's this actually going to cost me? Because it's not just the tax you owe plus interest. Oh no. There are some pretty hefty penalties on top of that. The penalty is worked out as a percentage of the tax you owe, and it all depends on your behavior. For deliberate actions, you're looking at a penalty of between 20 and 70%. But if you've actively tried to hide it, that jumps to between 30 and 100%. The key thing to remember is that how much you cooperate has a massive impact on where you land in that range. Full cooperation is your best bet for a lower penalty.
And listen, if there's any offshore income or assets involved, the game changes completely. The penalties can skyrocket to as much as 200% of the tax owed. It just makes being completely open and honest even more critical.
And here's something else, a really powerful reason to cooperate that isn't just about the money. HMRC can and does publicly name and shame deliberate tax defaulters. But if you go through the CDF process correctly, it generally protects you from ending up on that public list. It protects your reputation.
Okay, we've been through the problem, the process, and the penalties. Now we're at the most important part of all, what you need to do right now. Your next move is absolutely crucial. If you remember anything from this, remember this. First, try not to panic. But second, whatever you do, do not ignore it. That 60-day deadline is absolute. And crucially, do not try and handle this by yourself. This is not a DIY job. Your very first move should be to get specialist, professional advice immediately.
This is precisely where having an expert in your corner is a total game changer. And I don't mean your regular high street accountant. You need a specialist who lives and breathes COP9. A firm like My Tax Accountant has the experience to handle HMRC, prepare all the complex reports, and negotiate the best possible settlement for you. Seriously, don't leave this to chance. The stakes are just too high. If you, or maybe someone you know, is facing a COP9 investigation, get in touch with them. A confidential chat is the first step to getting this sorted. And just before we finish up, a quick disclaimer. This has all been for general guidance. It is not a substitute for professional advice. Before you make any decisions, you absolutely must consult with a qualified expert like the team at My Tax Accountant to get advice for your specific situation. Look, a COP9 investigation is incredibly serious and stressful. There's no getting around that. But it doesn't have to be a complete disaster. With the right knowledge and expert support, there is a clear path to getting it resolved. For an even deeper dive into all of this, I really recommend reading the full article on the My Tax Accountant website. And for more clear, helpful guides like this one, make sure you subscribe to their YouTube channel. Thanks for watching.